time for our reading for January 2015, and we'll see what it holds for everybody. So once again, I want to remind you that this is just a general reading for this month, and then anything more specific needs to be done for yourself. And you can contact me at the information below, and we can arrange that. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get the ancestors in and see what the month of January 2015 holds for everybody. Now, we've had a number of things come off the reading surface. That includes our copper piece. So, that already tells me that this next month is not going to be one that's going to be driven too heavily by the spirits. Or at least that it's not going to be one point where it's going to be heavily defined by our connection to the spirits. Which means it's going to be much more about the mental and physical realm. So when we look at our primary three bones, we find them forming a very interesting pattern here. Kind of combination of crossroads. This central one here is about family. We have a crossroads here about work, and then an offshoot here about home. So, what do we have? In a way, it sort of forms what I would call the 4-3 pattern. And this is a strong one talking about change and talking about the routes of change. There are going to be at least two significant periods in this next month. One that is going to have you coming into a crossroads where there's at least 3 options for you to go, and at least one where you're going to have 2 options. Now, the one that's here, let's start with one for just that there's 2 options of the route, involves family and home. You may have to make a significant choice when it comes to the issues around where you stand with family and in relation to where your home is. So it may mean that, for example, to take care of a family member, you may have to give up the home that you've known to be able to support them, or vice versa, have them come into your home so that they can be supported. And in that case, it's not so much you're at the crossroads, they're also at the crossroads, because they're having to make that choice between their, again, identity of home, be it their own space, their own independence, and being part of the house, being dependent on someone for either meals or to drive them around or to help with decision making. Vice versa, you're also going to be dealing with that idea of now having someone else in your home or in somebody else's home where the responsibility has to be shared. And there has to be real judgments made about where is my boundaries, where are your boundaries, and where do we step over them. Because it's going to be key to know those so that you can actually have and find a harmonious point to be able to make this work. So it's not just a matter of angst. The other crossroads comes in the subject of, especially because it crosses the one of work. There comes a point here where, and again it's in relationship to the family, work is going to you're going to have a choice between being wholly focused on work, but there comes at a point where work is not going to be either connecting with family or not connecting with family. And you can just be focusing on work altogether. And there are supports between all of them, which means that there isn't all bad in any one decision. But you will have to make a decision about which one you're going to do. Does it mean taking that job for 3 to 6 months to even a year away from the rest of your family and friends? Because it's either going to get you further ahead in the job, or it's going to get you the money that you need to be able to come back and help your family, or you're going to be sending money back to help them. But you will need to have the idea of whether or not this is going to be an option that has meaning for you, has meaning and part of your identity. because it is going to help define what you do for work, what you do in the future, and what name you have for yourself. But also understand that this work is not your identity, unless you so choose it. And if you choose it, you take everything that comes with it, good and bad. Just as equally, if you choose not to not to focus so much work on family, it may mean that there are family members who are going to be looking to you automatically with expectation of support that you can't offer, either due to the work schedule, either due to the, let's say, conflict of interests, or even just to the simple fact that the problems that the family members are in, you are not the one who is responsible for helping them through it. Just as equally, they may not be responsible for helping you through whatever the situation is at work. And then, of course, the last one, which deeply involves family, and that's the one that I see going back to the first crossroads, is about being able to, how work will be able to work in relationship to whatever the change is with your family members, either them coming into your home or you going into their home. But there are supports around all of these options. So they are not all good and they are not all bad, but there are things that will support it. Now, as we move into the outer portion of this, into the other bones that are around here, we have some interesting patterns. And this one here, this row of 3 rib bones with the broken ones, is that there is going to be a conflict. This conflict, though, feeds into the crossroads and into how do you, again, set the boundaries? How do you accept that you can no longer be what you were yesterday, you have to be what you are today, and today has limits. Tomorrow may have those same limits. How do you work with them? You have to navigate your way through, be, to use the euphemism, the leaf on the wind, moving with the wind versus against it. And you knew that by knowing what those limits and boundaries are, but also establishing them for yourself. Down here, with this set, you're going to find that the structure with around work and the support systems there, you're going to be confronted with some choices as the year goes on. Or I shouldn't say year, the month goes on. Because they're going to help define where and what your skills are and where they are in. So it may prove that, yes, you have a head for numbers, but you're not an accountant. But you might make a better engineer. Yes, you're good with people. Doesn't necessarily mean you're great with kids, or it also doesn't necessarily mean you're great at being a salesman. You might actually be better with the kids. You might be better off selling people things. You might be better off being the caregiver at a restaurant. But you're going to have a more settling of what your skill sets are and how they work with you. Lastly, this set over here. I see some disruptions when it comes with finances, but finances will be settled. You will have a certain aspect of expectations, but don't be surprised that you may have to tighten up in some areas, or just forego something for a while. But it doesn't mean that it's going to last forever. You're probably looking at least anywhere from 1 to 2 months of having to do without a certain item for a while, or at least having to cut back. But it's not the end of the world. It's only temporary. So, with that, that's about what the ancestors have to say and spirits have to say. So, I'm going to say tune in next month for our reading for February. And on behalf of the ancestors and the spirits, may you have a blessed day, and a blessed week, and a blessed month. This is Uncle Dust.